Hi everyone, it's Marguerite again with Wreaths by Marguerite here for another tutorial. This week we're doing a Mardi Gras wreath in the Stormburst style. That means it's under 4 inches deep, so you can place it behind a storm or a screen door without crushing it. This is not a kit. This will go directly into the Etsy shop, available for purchase. So before we get started, I want to first off apologize right away. I sound funny, yes. I am one of the victims, many victims of whatever the crud is that's going around this year. I'm on week 3 and I'm finally seem to be on the healing path completely. So I will be doing a little coughing, but I didn't want to miss out on giving you any content this weekend. So let's get started on this beautiful project. Here we go. Okay, well, first things first, I need to get a little housekeeping out of the way. If I sound funny, that's because I'm at the end of being sick. Something really nasty's been going around the country this year, and I got it as worse as you could probably get it without having to go to the hospital. But I'm finally on the mend, and I didn't want you guys to go without any content this weekend. So I pulled out one of my Mardi Gras kits to make in front of you today, like I said in the intro. With that being said, if you hear anything funny other than my voice, haha, I'm sucking on a cough drop to keep from coughing every 2 seconds. So I apologize for that, but the show must go on, right? We got things to do and things to learn. Let's see. So this is a Mardi Gras kit, like I said. I have everything cut and prepped. Since it's not going to be a kit that you can purchase, this is the last one of this particular kit. So I went ahead and pre-cut everything and got everything ready so this can go pretty quickly. If you'd like to see more detailed direction on putting together a kit, there's lots of content from over the last 2 years since I filmed for every Sunday. And the most recent one was a Valentine's Day storm door kit that I released last Sunday, which would have been the 4th of January 2026. I'm still getting used to saying that, and I managed to say 2026 without screwing it up. So oftentimes before I make a kit, I will put together a bundle of one of each of the ribbons I want you to use to make sure that it matches the sign. So that's what this is, but I am going to be using it into the design. Okay, so everything's pre-cut and bundled. So I used 2 1.5 inch ribbons and 1 2.5 inch ribbon, and they're all cut at 12 inches in length. And then I go ahead and get all the little design cut on them, the little V's. They're called a dovetail. Again, all that's in my more detailed videos. And I have them in bundles based on where they're going to go in the wreath. Okay? So in this bundle, oh, I forgot. This has 2 different bundles. My bad. Okay. So this is the one that you see already with the pipe cleaner, and then this is the other one. So in this case, I am going to do, how do I want to do this? This is the other half. These are this. How do I want to layer them? Well, on this one I had this on top, so I don't want to do that on top. I'm going to do the green on the bottom, and then I'm going to do the polka dots, and then I'm going to do the harlequin on top. These are all very glittery ribbons, so they're a lot thicker than your average ribbons. So I'm going to put those over here for now and separate the combinations so I remember. I'm going to put that there because we're not doing the ribbon right away. You have a license plate size sign, which is 12 by 6. These are the perfect size for this storm door style wreath. It's done on an MDF sign. So I was able to take 2 pipe cleaners and cut them in half and staple them to the back using 1/4 inch staples. If your sign isn't at least 1/4 inches, you're going to want to use cable tie mounts. But today we didn't have to do that. The cable tie mount looks like this. Here comes a sneeze. I'll put it on this so you can see it better. Pardon. So this is a cable tie mount. See about bringing this in a little tighter so you can see it a little bit more clearly. It's just a little 1x1 plastic cable tie mount that you find in the hardware stores. This one has the foam backing to it that's sticky, but I still use, after I take the tab off of it before I place it on my sign, I use a super glue type thing, glue on the back of it. Put that on the back of the sign, and then I do reinforce it with hot glue. Hot glue is not enough to hold your signs on because in extreme heat they'll melt off, and in extreme cold they'll pop off. So remember that if you do with the cable tie mounts. Let me bring this back out. That's something you have to use on metal signs and super thin signs. It's the most safest, most durable way possible. Okay. So for now, we're going to be working with the mesh and the frame. This is a 14¼ inch frame. It has 4 rings, 1, 2, 3, and 4, with 6 crossbars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is necessary to do the storm door / pancake style wreath. You're going to have 6 pipe cleaners on the outside 2 rings, rings 1 and 2 at the crossbars. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have them pulled out to the edge of the table because I'm working on the outside edge first. And then the other 6 are in between the crossbars on rings 3 and 4. So they're faced in because we won't be working with them right away. First thing I do with this is I open the pipe cleaners horizontal to me because I'm going to be placing the mesh in vertically. You notice I'm bringing the frame around to me so I'm not stretching across the table. This helps from soreness and such, and less strain on your back when you're bringing the place you're working on closest to you. And then I chose to go with 2 different meshes, 2 different designs. This is a great way to use up half rolls of mesh. A 10-inch roll, which is what these are, usually has 360 inches of mesh. That'll give you 1½ wreaths worth of mesh. So that means after I do the first one, I have enough to do half a wreath. So this will do 1/2 and this will do 1/2. They're both a highly foiled deco mesh. They are all 10 inches in width this way. So I have 6 of the all gold, and I have 6 of the stripe with the purple, emerald green, and the gold, okay? So the way we're going to approach this is we're going to do the first 3 and then the second 3, and when I say that, what I mean is we're going to put in 3 every other. So I'm going to do this one, skip 1, this one, skip 1, this one, skip 1, okay? So I'm going to put in the gold first because I want to have the stripe on top of the gold. So I'm doing gold, gold, gold. Then I'll come in and I'll do stripe, stripe, stripe. So let's get started. Some of the tools you'll need. I use a chip clip to hold my mesh. You're going to need a scissor to cut your ribbon. I'm still a little discombobulated. Sorry, guys. Some wire cutters. I get these at Deco Exchange. Or if you're just using tools you have, this is just a DeWalt wood. Some needle nose, you might need that. And I'm going to bring out a wooden dowel. That's how I did the curly cues on the pipe cleaner. Okay, put that out of the way first. Alright, I might need a couple more tools, but I'm forgetting which ones right now, so you'll have to bear with me. This one I'm using right away. So, our goal is to make poofs that lay flat, because this is a storm door style wreath. So we want to keep the depth of this wreath under 4 inches, which works perfectly with this technique. When we're working with the mesh, we turn it curl side down. See how curly it is? Curl side down, lay it on the table. I fold it in half on one end to find my center, and I use a chip clip to hold it there. Then I go to the other end and do the same thing, fold it in half, find the center, hold it with my finger behind my thumbs, and I'm going to gather this mesh all the way up to that chip clip. The chip clip serves 2 purposes. It holds the curl down so you're not fighting with the mesh as much while you're ruffling it down the center. And then the chip clip also serves as your focal point for the center, so as you're gathering, you can stay focused on keeping that mesh evenly on each side of your hands, so that when you get it to the end and you put it in your thumb and forefinger, you hold it loosely, it's mostly even on both sides. This is not, so I have to loosely grab my mesh, but never from the edge, doing it closer to my finger and index thumb. I'm bringing it out. If you do it on the outside edge, there's a chance you can damage the mesh and change the design in a way that it doesn't look good. So there we go. So now we're going to go ahead, and since we're holding it in the center, we're bringing it over to the wreath frame, and we're putting the mesh in vertically. Now, I don't know if it's because I'm left-handed or not, but it's what I'm most comfortable with. I teach you to do it head-on like this, but I have to turn it just a slight angle to the side. It's more comfortable than me moving around a lot, okay? I'm going to see how those pipe cleaners are horizontal. I'm going to put these in vertically. Bring my pipe cleaners up around the center, and I'm going to pull them tight and low, meaning I'm going to pull, but keep it as low and close to this frame as possible, and then twist it 2 to 3 times in the same fashion so that they stay nice and low. The goal is to keep this thin. And then I'm going to put them up out of the way because I don't need them right now. I'm going to take the outside cut edge of the mesh over the inside cut edge. The outside cut edge on this side over the inside cut edge. And I did a completely horrible job. I've got peaks and valleys, so I need to bring this out, and then I need to bring this out, so this isn't so pointy. We want it to be round. It's been a few weeks since I made a wreath between the holidays. I always, when I adjust it, I grab it by the pipe cleaners, and I grab the mesh up closest to the pipe cleaners, so I'm not doing any damage or changing the design in any fashion where anybody's going to be able to see it. It's all going to be hidden. You need to get back on top of that one. Okay. If it's just really bad, just take it out and re-ruffle it. But I find 9 times out of 10 it's easier just to do what I'm doing now. Hold it by the pipe cleaners, pull it where it needs to go. This is still about 1 inch longer on this side, so I need to reach under and grab this one and bring it out a little bit. The goal, at least on the bottom layer, is to make sure you have a nice rounded outer edge, because the edge on the bottom is basically all that people are going to be seeing. Seeing? Yes. I'm very nasally, I know. So, that being said, still got some peaks and valleys. That was dipping in, so I got it back out. It's circular. And don't let this deter you, because even after all these years, I've been doing this for 8 years, pardon, there are times when I have difficulty getting it right, but as you can see, there were solutions and we made it through. So now we're going to skip this and go to this one, and again we're sticking with the gold. Pardon, people, my friends. Clip that in the center. I was keeping it curl side down. Always we work with your mesh curl side down. As you can see in the center of this, let me come down here a little bit more. The curls are tighter on the inside of the bundle, so it's going to be even more difficult to work with. So this really makes a difference. If you don't have a chip clip, just when I'm not filming, I lay my phone up here. Or if you have a rock or something heavy that's not going to damage the mesh, to hold it in place. Okay, so let me fold it in half. I think I did it out of natural habit, but just to be safe. So I'm gathering it with both hands into my thumbs, using all my fingers to crawl up the mesh as evenly as possible so the gathers are nice and even on both sides. I'm putting it in my thumb and forefinger. Now we're going to come over here. I turn it this way sometimes, I turn it this way sometimes. It's all in what's comfortable to you. Okay, we're going to put that there in the center. Pull it tight and low. These pipe cleaner chenille stems are very durable, so you can put your strength into it without damaging them. Okay, I'm going to take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge on this side, and this outside cut edge over this inside cut edge on this side. Okay. All right, that one did much better. Still got a little bit of a dip there, so I'll fix that. But much easier. Now, if you're not sure if you've got the mesh centered in your pipe cleaner, use your cutting mat or a ruler to make sure you have 5 inches on each side of the center pipe cleaner. That'll help you to determine that. Unless you're wanting to make a bigger, wider wreath, then you could do less on the inside, more on the outside. But remember, you'll have to be consistent with all of your mesh to make sure they're the same width. Otherwise, you'll have your wreath looking like wavy. I also completely remodeled my craft space, my studio, before I got really sick, or in between, because it was actually, I got really sick, and then I got better, and then it came back. So, I'm still getting used to where everything is, and I guess my hands weren't in the camera for that little wavy thing. Sorry, I'm easily amused. Alright, so this is still a little bit too far down, so I'm going to pull that out a little bit. Get that evened up. It's funny. When I'm doing a tutorial, I find that I have to adjust my mesh more than I do when I'm just doing this freestyle on my own without the camera on. Who knew? So I'm going to put these other 3 aside for now, because the next 3 will be the stripe. So I'm using the table to uncurl my mesh, curl side down, using my clip to mark the center. Let's do this on the other side. Ruffling or ruffling. Ruffling or gathering, whatever you want to call it. Try to do it as evenly as possible. Get to the top, take your clip out. And we'll come over here vertically. So the mesh goes in the horizontal pipe cleaner vertically. Why do I do it that way? It's a very good question. There are a lot of designers out there that do it where 3 times, 2, 3, tight and low. Pardon. There are designers out there that do it where the cut edges are up and down this way. But I find that you're going to have less opportunity for the mesh to fray if you have the outside cut edge over the inside cut edge for, horizontally. It's going to be less likely to catch on anything else. Get that adjusted. And positioned. Than if you do it the other way. None of the cut edge is visible this way. All mesh frays. There's just no avoiding it. Some people use a wood burner. It helps. It's great for using to make petals for the UITC, the Unique and the Creek boards. But I just think this is the way to go in the long run, so you're not fussing too much and having to make a bunch of cuts. Alright, so there's the first 3, the gold. I'm going to do one more on camera, and then we'll come back after I do one of these. After I do one of these, I'm going to cut the camera, then I'm going to come back once the entire bottom layer is in place so we can start with the ribbon, okay? So, you'll see me on camera do one of these on this layer. Put that aside, curl side down, fold it in the center, clip it in the center. Now the nice thing about this mesh is it has the stripes. So once you determine your center, you know on every one of them that the center is the yellow and the purple stripes here. So you don't have to clip it, but that helps keep it flat. And you don't have to have the clip to find your center, because you now know the center is that purple and yellow. Or more like the purple and green, I should say. There's a single single green stripe right down the center, as a matter of fact. So that makes it perfect. Okay, I'm going to go over here and place it in there, right in the center. Pull this tight and low. And twist it 3 times. And I'm going to take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge on this side. And then do the same on the other. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge. Make any adjustments I need. I got a point here, so I need to bring this out. You notice I'm holding the pipe cleaner so I don't mess up the design. Where is this coming from? There should be a dip somewhere on there. There it is. If you got a point on one side, there's a corresponding dip on the other side. That's where you want to pull from. Okay? There we go. So there's that. And we'll be back in just a few moments to finish this layer. Okay, so here we are. I've finished putting the mesh on the bottom layer, and I've gone ahead and put the first design of ribbon tail bundles in. What I did was I decided I was going, where are they? There. I decided I want to put this one here on all the gold mesh bundles. So I did all of these. These have 2 1.5 inches and a 2.5 inch green. I decided to do those on the striped. So that's what I did. So now I'm going to show you how to put the bundles in. So I did the first 3. So now I'm going to spread the pipe cleaners out vertically. See how I'm turning them towards me? Because the ribbon tails are going to go in horizontally. Let's get all this visual clutter out of the way that we can. And I'm going to open the bundle that I've creased nice and stiffly. I guess that's the word. When I made the bundles, I pressed down, because this has got a lot of glitter in it. I pressed down really, really aggressively on the center so I could see it through all of the glitter, so that I know where to ruffle. That's my exact center. I'm just ruffling it similar to how I did with mesh. So once I get it all gathered up, I'm going to take the outside edges towards the end of the table. So the way you're looking at it, it looks like a V. The way I'm looking at it is an upside down V. And I'm doing that at this point because it helps keep the ribbon facing the outside of the wreath. Because remember, on the bottom layer, you're only going to see what's on the outside edge. Pardon. I'm going to put that in there. Tighten the pipe cleaner 2 to 3 times. Tight and low, just like we did on the bottom. 1, 2, 3. That secures it in place. And then I'm going to twist it upwards 6 to 8 times to create a 1-inch twist. Pardon. A 1-inch twist. So I'll cut anything beyond the twist off and throw it in the trash. We won't do that on the top layer. Don't cut anything on the top layer. The bottom layer, we don't need the rest because this is just going to be pressed into the mesh. And then I'm going to lift and separate each of my ribbons into the position that I want them in. So I'm going to lift the top 2 away from the bottom, and it takes a little bit more strength with the glitter because it's so thick. I'm going to lift the top 2 up and out of the way, and then I'm going to move my bottom one into position, pushing out these little bubbles at the top to gather, straightening my ribbon as I come down. Then I'm going to do the same thing with these 2. I'll lift the top one away from the second one. I'm going to position this, get all those bubbles out and place it where I want it, and then bring this one down with the Harlequin, doing the same thing. Now on the other side, I'm going to do exactly the same as I did with the other 3 I did while I was off camera. I'm still going to lift it up. I'm still going to lift and separate the top 2 away from the bottom one. This time, since the green was up on the other side, I'm going to bring it down. So it's going to be opposite. Okay. I'm going to bring the top one away from the center one. And then I'm going to bring the top one down. It's a little more work with the glitter. You have to manhandle it a little more. Don't be afraid. This is quality product, okay? So that one did not like me. Okay, let's fix that. Remember keeping all your tips facing the outside, tips of your ribbon to the outside of the frame. Over here, do the next one. The pipe cleaners are in position because I did them before we started. It's life easier when you don't have three hands. LOL. Much stiffer ribbon. Get closer to the table. Put that in there horizontally into the vertical pipe cleaner. Twist it tight and low 3 times. And twist up towards the ceiling. Cut anything above about an inch, inch and a half off. Throw it in the trash. Tuck it in. Lift, separate position. Lift, separate position. I'm running my fingers down that. I'm not handling the ribbon from the ends because, like the mesh, it can fray not as easily, but still possible. Okay, position that one. Pardon, guys. I just also didn't want to wait any longer to get this Mardi Gras one made and in the shop. So, I apologize profusely for the coughing. Okay, one more. Time for another cough drop, I think. It sure does help. Plus it clears up my nose. There we go. That should help any moment. Okay, let's open this bundle. Gather it down the center. Create the inverted V by pulling it towards the edge of the table. Bring that over. Twist. Low and tight 3 times. And then upwards about 6 to 8 times to create a 1-inch twist. Cut the excess that's not twisted off and throw it in the trash. Don't fuss too much with the ribbon on this layer because at the very end you have to go back and make sure everything's pulled out to the outside edge of the wreath anyway. So just get it headed in the right direction. Lift, separate. Also, I don't remember if I said it before I went to break. As you're going, make sure that you're cutting the frays that pop up on your mesh as you go. It's one less thing to do later, and it's much harder to see once the whole thing's there. That way, you got a nice clean look. All the little things count. They may not see it, but it helps you with the... I feel like I take more pride in my product when I make the extra effort to make sure everything's nice and clean and neat. So there we have the whole bottom layer. Okay. So now we need to go back and pull those pipe cleaners on rings 3 and 4. Trash. These pipe cleaners that are on rings 3 and 4 up in between each piece of mesh from the bottom layer. And every other one I'm going to open up because I will be working on those first. So horizontal to me with the pipe cleaners. So on the mesh, it's horizontal to me with the pipe cleaners. With the ribbon, it's vertical to me with the pipe cleaners. Otherwise, you end up having your ribbons in this way, and there's nobody looking at the inside of your wreath. You want all your product facing the outside edge to be enjoyed. So this one I'm not spreading apart. And the next one I'm spreading apart. Don't pull it in through the mesh. Pull it between 2 pieces of mesh. It works just fine. So that means this one just goes straight up. All this talking is making me cough too. But I enjoy being here with you guys, so it is what it is, right? If it bothers you enough, you can turn down the volume unless you need to hear what I'm saying. So that one was straight up. So this one is outburst. This one is straight up. Okay, so now it's time to work with the last 6 pieces of mesh. One thing that hasn't changed is this horrible floor pad and chair. That's on my to replace list for this year. All right, so let's go ahead and do the gold first because I want the patterned stripe on top. You'll see more of it against the sign. It's all going to look good. But isn't this a great way to use up what leftover mesh you have so you don't have a bunch of 3/4 used rolls of mesh sitting around just taking up space? Sorry. All right. I'm just going to freehand it because I do this all the time. I can't exactly tell you how many I've made, but I know I've made well over 2,000. I also do this. I start gathering with 2 hands, and then I use the second hand to hold the mesh up at top. Taunt while I'm gathering. I find that's a good technique too. This is probably the one I use more than anything. To get more even poofs, I think. So we're going to put them in the pipe cleaners that I folded out horizontally first. Tight and low 2 to 3 times. And up in the air out of the way while I'm doing all the other things. Let's take that outside cut edge over this inside cut edge. And this outside cut edge over this side cut edge. Okay, you can't see it, but this one's got a few frays on it, so I'm going to cut those now. I go back to making sure everything's okay. There we go. There's one more fray. Come on, fray. There we go. Skip this one. And we're going to go here. Fold it in half. Eyeballing it. But if you're not sure, you can always fold it in half. I always used to say use a ruler to find your center, but then it dawned on me, well, what do you need the ruler for when you can just fold it in half? One less tool to have in the way, right? I mean, all the tools that you use to make these are truly things that you can find in a standard toolbox, and then the chip clip from the kitchen. Except for the wood dowel. And I'll go over that when we get there. You don't have to have a wood dowel. Okay, outside cut edge over inside cut edge. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge. It's got a loose string that's catching on everything. So I'm trying to be careful not to snag anything. So let's see, how does that look? Remembering always that the inside is not going to be seen. Right in here it's going to be covered by the sign and a lot of pretty ribbon. We're looking to make sure that this is nice and round and it's not. What do we got going on here? That's not it. Is it over here? I thought I had it, but I guess it was wrong. Okay. Get down here. Okay. Yes, I talk to the mesh sometimes. Okay, now for the final piece of gold mesh. There. Remembering always to keep the curl side down. Going back to this two-handed technique. I flip-flop between the 2 ways to ruffle and gather, just so it's not boring. Not that making a wreath is boring, but the mesh part I find to be the least exciting to me. It's your solid foundation. I've often heard my mentor refer to the mesh as your bra on a wreath. Now that sounds weird, but your bra is, for a woman, is a solid foundation to hold everything up. And the mesh is what holds all the signs and all of the ribbon up and all the other embellishments if you do extra stuff. This is a basic wreath, so it doesn't have any extra picks and sprays going in it. But yeah, if you think about it that way, he's right. It's the solid foundation that holds everything up. Big old point over there and a dip over here. So I'm going to fix that here. I need to bring this one here. Okay, is that working? Alright, so there's the gold. On this layer, I'm going to keep you on camera while I do the other three so you can see how that works. So I'm going to now take these pipe cleaners in between each gold piece of mesh and pull them out horizontally to put the stripe mesh in. Okay. All right. And one thing I didn't discuss before I went on that little break to finish the bottom layer of mesh is that I also checked to make sure that the pattern was the same on each side of the center, meaning I didn't have a green edge and a purple edge, because that would make a difference in how you put it in your wreath as well. You want to be consistent. So if there weren't color on the outside different one side from the other, I would do the first three with the one color on the outside and the second three with the other color on the outside. So you're taking advantage of all the design. Gives it more dimension. But this is gold on each side. Everything else is even down the center. Now I'm going to fold it in half, even though I know that green one's my center one. And it's always curl side down. Alright. I'm holding it with my thumb and forefinger. Make sure it's centered right there. Okay. And as always, the most important thing to remember is that your outside edge is nice and perfectly curved, because that's what's going to be seen. Twist. 1, 2. And lift these up in the air. I'm going to take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. And the outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Just a little, it's mostly right. There we go. So see how that sits on top of the gold? Let's do the next one. Use the table. Using the table to unfold it, to uncurl it. Clip it. Ruffle. There it is. Looks good. Even, perfect, and aligned. Tight and low 2 to 3 times. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge. Adjustments by holding it here, never pulling at the edge. And last but not least, the final strip of mesh. Sometimes you don't see the frayed pieces because of the angle and because how shiny it is. Pardon. I sure hope none of you are experiencing this terrible flu and cold season. It's been pretty brutal. Everyone in my house got it. But I was the winner as far as how bad. It was very strange. I was sick. I was freaking sick this 22nd of December. I was, you know, didn't feel good, had the runny nose stuff, and then I was fine by New Year's. And then I decided to remodel my studio, not knowing I was still sick. And by that Saturday, it was on like Donkey Kong again. So I was pretty defeated by that. I had all these plans, but the only plans I was able to go through with were staying in bed and keeping hydrated and eating right. It was too soon to film a couple days ago because I still sound like a frog. I feel like I still do a little, but hey, you know? I miss doing this. Put this up and out of the way. Okay, so now the entire base is complete. So you have to make a decision whether you want to put the sign in first or if you want to put the ribbon in first. This is how I usually make my decision. When you're using a rectangular sign or a square sign or a perfectly circular sign, I usually put the sign in first. If I have a sign that is an odd shape like a star, a circle, no, a star, a heart, an egg, I put the ribbon in first because you don't want the ribbon covering the shape if you've got a unique shape, because otherwise they won't be able to see it. It'll just look like a blob of sign in the center, for a lack of a better way to put it. Okay, so I'm done with the chip clip, so I'm going to put that away. I didn't bring out this. This is how I'm going to pull the pipe cleaners on the back of the sign through the wreath mesh. It's a plastic embroidery needle. This one's 6 inches long. I tried shorter ones, but I was still struggling. Now, you don't have to have this. You can just do it by pushing the pipe cleaner through. It works. It just takes a little bit longer. It's a little more of a struggle, but not a big deal. But this just takes away all the frustration, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. And then for the final layer of ribbon, you're going to need either a wood dowel like this, and it's the same diameter as a pencil or a standard pen. So if you don't have a wood dowel, just use a pen or a pencil. Again, go back to using things that you have in your home already. Now for putting the sign up, I usually stand because I want to make sure I get this centered. So what I do first is I put one pipe cleaner at 12 o'clock and one at 6 o'clock. So I know where my center is. And then I usually spread these out when I'm putting a rectangular sign in. And I put my sign in the center. And it's going to go in between these four. It's going to straddle those a little bit. But if you're not sure where your center is, you can always take a ruler. This is 6 inches. So my center is right here and I've got it correctly placed. A lot of times the wording is centered. This is offset. So you can pick the middle letter to know where your center is. Not with this one. We've got the fleur-de-lis over here going on. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to lift the wreath away from the table and I'm going to push this down through the mesh, making sure not to go to the ribbon, through the ribbon on the bottom layer. And I did it at a slight angle up under the sign a little bit so that this pipe cleaner won't be visible once we have everything in. You pull it through the mesh, see how easy that was? And then you pull it off the needle. And then I'm going to go from that one to this one. The reason we do that is it helps the sign, it makes it easier for the sign to stay flat and even. Otherwise you might get one side up, one side down. This is standard practice. Put that in through the mesh. The pipe cleaner through it, fold it over the eye of the needle and pull it through. Get it off of the needle so it doesn't want to come off. Okay, so I did that. I'm going to do this, but I'm going to start on this side because it's closest to me right now. away from the table. Put eye through the eye, pull it through, pull it off the needle. And then last but not least is this one. Remembering to make sure that that needle is slightly under the sign so the pipe cleaner stays under the sign. Pipe cleaner through, fold it over, pull it through. Okay, now where did I put that? This was the package. This was the package the sign came in. So I'm going to put it back over it once I'm sure it's centered to protect it, because I'm going to flip the wreath over, holding it down in place so it doesn't move, so that I can attach these pipe cleaners to the frame. And I usually press down a little bit on the wreath so that it settles into it, the sign settles into the wreath but not smushes. That allows me to put the pipe cleaner around the frame, and I usually try to put it where another pipe cleaner is from the frame. Okay, so I did that one. I'm going to come over here and do this one. Pressing down just a little bit. Wrapping it around, and once I get to the end of the pipe cleaner, make sure that the tip of the pipe cleaner is facing back down towards the front of the wreath. There it is. The reason you're doing that is to make sure there's nothing sharp or pokey that would hit the door. You're just not pushing it all the way through so you see it at the front. You don't want that. Just enough to keep it away from any door. This frame is slightly elevated, so between the two, it'll keep it from touching any doors or glass on doors. That's all four. Before I forget, a lot of people ask how you hang these from the door. Just from the wire frame. You don't need to add a pipe cleaner because you're never going to get it to sit even. Trust me. All right, we're done with that, so I can throw that away. Now time to put the ribbon in. So this can get put away. Keep our workplace clean if we can. Don't need the needle nose. I couldn't think of the name of it for a second. Don't need the scissors anymore. Okay. So I will remember to do the same pattern as I did on the bottom. So on the multi-stripe, I put these. And on the gold, I put these. So this is the 2 1.5 inches and the 2.5 inch. And this is the 2 2.5 inches and 1.5 inch. Mixing up the widths and such and patterns definitely give it more texture too. Okay. All right. So let's do these first, the gold. So I'm bringing the pipe cleaners out to me, vertical, just like we did on the bottom layer. Key takeaway from the top layer is don't cut the pipe cleaners until after everything's in it and you've decided what technique you want to use with them, okay? Doesn't matter where you start. I usually do it so that every other one is on top of every other. So just like I did with the mesh. So I'm going to put this here. The difference is we're still going to ruffle it like this down the center, but we're not going to do the inverted V. We're just going to splay out the ribbon, almost like confetti or a firework. I don't know how you compare that. All right. Tight and low 3 times. And then we're going to put it up in the air. We don't need to deal with it right now. So on this, I'm going to lift the top two, just like we did on the bottom layer. And I'm going to position it. So I'm going to put this closest to the sign. And you notice I put a little bit more curl in it. You can also use this to curl your ribbon as well. It helps give it a nice curl. And lift these up and away. Place the green one. those bubbles out, place it there, and then I'm going to get that top one, make sure it's turned all right side up, and I'm going to bring it down here. I'm going to go ahead and use this a little bit more today. And then on the other side, I'm going to do it exactly the same way. I'm not going to do it different on each side like I did on the bottom layer. In all cases on the top layer, the bottom one will go on the inside. The green one will go on the inside in this collection. And this will go down here. Get these bubbles out. And then we're going to skip this one and go here. Actually, I'm going to wait and do 6 and 12 last. Okay? So that means I'm going to skip that. So I'll go here. Got that gathered up. It's a little harder because it's stiff. All that glitter. So pretty. 1, 2, 3. Tight and low. Lift it out of the way. So that means that this one's going to pull these two up. Place this one closest to the sign. Clean those up. Bring this to the second spot. This to the third spot. So I notice I'm turning it as I do each side. I'm not contorting my arms that way, and I do a better job of getting them placed where they need to be placed. Little ruffle there. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to go back and we're going to do the other bundle. That's these two. That's this one. Okay. So I'm going to come right next to it. So I did that one. I'm going to do this one here. And this design is also going to go there. Okay. You see the technique I'm using here at all? I do the sides, then the top and the bottom, so that the top and the bottom ribbon neatly nestle on top of the sides. Just looks more uniform. Tight and low. 1, 2, 3. I have a lot less pipe cleaner left when I'm dealing with the glitter room because it uses more. Alright, so on this one, I'm going to use the green closest to the sign. Lift and separate. And then position. I love Harlequin. It doesn't matter what color combination. This is the Harlequin. Separate position. You noticed I pulled these away from the green when I positioned it because the green was going to be the furthest away from this one. Okay, so I did that. So I did that and that. Now I'm doing that and that. And notice I still haven't cut any pipe cleaners. Not until after we get the last of the ribbon in. Tight, low, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Lift them out of the way. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. You'll find your technique that you prefer the most. This is just my recommendation. Anything I teach you here is not a hard and die hard work rule. It's up to you what you do with that. You can adjust it to your comfort level. Do the technique that is most comfortable for you and will get you the results you want. And you can even use it to do all three at once when you're curling. Okay. So now we're left with the top and the bottom. That makes it nice and easy. So we're going to go back, and we don't want to put that one here. It's the other one with the two 1.5 inch ribbons. Two, three. Up and out of the way. Okay, so this is going to have 1.5 inch harlequin down towards the sign, the green in the center, and the polka dot up towards me. One more curl. Other side. Notice I'm positioning those to make sure they're even. Now, I do most of my work sitting. That doesn't mean you have to. There's a lot of people that feel much more comfortable doing it standing. I do a combo. I have issues that make it better for me to sit. Okay, we're going to do one last one on the bottom at 6 o'clock. Make sure these are up here nice and neatly. Okay, let's put that in there, the final ribbon tail bundle. Tight, low, twist 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that means this should have the green closest to the sign. Lift, separate, position. This is some stiff, thick ribbon. And lift and separate. This will go here, and this will twist over here. This one giving me fits. Okay. One more side. Lift, separate, position. Okay, so there's that. It's finished except for the pipe cleaners. Now you have a couple of choices on how you handle the pipe cleaners here. If you're just going to use the technique that you did on the bottom to have all the pipe cleaner hidden and just have a stub showing, you don't have to trim the pipe cleaners. If you're doing that, you're just going to twist it, but you're going to go more than 1 inch because you want it to be able to wrap all the way behind your ribbon, so that all you see on the top, you cut it, but I'm not going to cut it because that's not the technique I'm going with today. So then you would cut it to down at the back, and then you'd only see this little purple stub here, like this. But I'm going to do it my favorite way with the little curly cues like I showed you in that ribbon bundle in the beginning, okay? And tie these. So I'm going to do all of the cutting now. Fix my ribbon. What I mean by cutting is I'm going to take the wire cutters and I'm going to cut all of the tips off of the pipe cleaners to make them the same length on both sides. In the process of twisting, most of the time one side ends up longer than the other, so I'm just evening them up so both sides are the same. Does it matter? No one's really going to be able to tell because it's going to be curled, but I do that extra step. This stay. I did that one. Okay, I can put this away now when it's still on the table. So I'm going to do the curly Q technique. I'm going to take one side on the wooden dowel and twist it away from me. Twist it towards the sign. You can put it all the way down at the bottom, which is what I'm going to do. And then on the outside, I'm going to turn it towards me. You could also pull it out and make it look like a corkscrew, but I'm not doing that. I'm going to hide most of it. You could also put buttons or other embellishments on here. There's a lot of different things that you can do to take it over the top. Inside one twists away from me. Outside one twists towards me. Again, I'm turning it towards me as I'm working at it, so I'm not reaching across the table. Away from me on the inside, towards me on the outside. Away from me. Towards me. Away from me. Towards me. I'm going to go back and curl up that ribbon a little more. It looks a little flat to me. Actually, you know, I'm going to leave it flat because that way you can see how good it looks even though it's flat. But if you want it to be more fluffy, just take your pen, pencil, or wooden dowel and just run it under the ribbon. Just take it like that with your hand over it and it gives it a little bit more fluff. But we're going to go with the true flat pancake style storm door wreath look this time. And there I was squirreling again. Now I'm going to stand. And I'm going to adjust everything that needs to be adjusted. I want these to show here. Push that down in. Bring these back up. They tried to hide. They're trying to hide. I want to see everything. You can. These stay in position pretty well. Just depends. Some ribbon is more finicky than others. There you go. So those are there. This one here a little more. And then last but not least, I'm going to go around the bottom by lifting the mesh on the top layer up and making sure all my ribbon is facing the outside edge. You lift the mesh up so you don't snag the ribbon or the mesh, because at this point everything's pretty much attached itself to everything around it. Never handle your ribbon from the outside cut edge. Those are already out nicely. I may have done this one. It's okay. Can't hurt. No, I think it's this next one. All right. Get this little fray here. And there it is. Nice, fun, storm door style, thin Mardi Gras wreath. Okay, well, we made it through despite all the coughing and my froggy throat. Sorry about that, guys, but life happens, right? So I didn't want to miss out on the opportunity to give you new content for the weekend. So there it is. If you like what you saw, you're more than welcome to subscribe to the channel. It is free. The more the merrier. If you like what you see here, you can also follow me on the other platforms, not including TikTok. So that means I'm here on YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram, all at Wreaths by Marguerite. On YouTube and on Facebook is Wreaths by Marguerite LLC due to a huge hacking incident in December of 2024. So you'll have to add the LLC to the end in order to find me. Also, if you like my product and like to purchase any of the completed wreaths as well as kits I have available, you can go to my Etsy shop, which is Wreaths by Marguerite. Okay, no LLC there. So thank you again for joining me. There's 2 years worth of content now for you to enjoy. I put out new content every Sunday at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So you can catch me on the page with lots of new and great stuff. We're in that time of year we have where we have several overlapping holidays. Mardi Gras, I believe, March 17th or it's February 17th. So it either overlaps a lot with Valentine's Day or St. Patrick's Day. I can't remember. I have to look it up again. Put it down in the comments. That way everybody knows when the holidays are. So thanks again for joining me. I appreciate you and the fact that you carve out some time to spend with me. So thanks again, and we'll see you in the next time. Enjoy. Bye-bye.